Ideas. There are ideas that change the way we work.
In other centuries, they would have called it magic.
Ideas that got us connected.
Well, hold the line a minute.
That made us communicate better with each other.
Hello?
Ideas that got smarter and smarter and smarter. They're the ones that caused revolutions.
Goodbye, David.
And others that seem like a thing of the past now. There are the ones that are obsolete and ideas that promised us freedom, but in the end delivered us nothing but stress, that we tried to compensate with funny ideas. We thought of something different. A simple idea that turns idle workspace into places where you connect with companies, where you share knowledge with other creative minds or digital nomads. Where you are is where you work. You spend fewer hours on the road, and you gain precious time for a better work-life balance. It's called Work Hero. Is it a game changer?
I beg your pardon?
We like to think so, but we'll let you be the judge of that. Check out Work Hero on workhero.com. Work Hero, connecting space and knowledge.
Are you just now getting home? Wait, is this a walk of shame?
I mean, is it a walk of shame if I...
Are you an ambitious business owner? COSME can help you move forward in a supportive business environment. COSME is the EU program for the competitiveness of small and medium-sized enterprises. It helps you access finance, reach new markets, and find the right business partners. COSME gives financial support, such as loans and venture capital. Find out more on the Access to Finance portal. Funding is also available through calls for proposals, also known as grants and calls for tenders. For grants, the European Commission selects projects contributing to EU policy aims, like sustainable tourism. In calls for tenders, it hires business services to support its activities. If you are interested in applying, choose the funding that is most suitable for you. Check the eligibility criteria and start working on your proposal. Make sure it is consistent, realistic, and clearly defined. Find calls for proposals and tenders on the Funding and Tenders portal. Search for financial opportunities in your country on the Access to Finance portal.
La Fundación Finnova, con el proyecto CircoAx, busca empresas y autónomos innovadores para promover la economía circular en el mundo textil y de la moda.
pues yo sufrí abuso sexual en mi adolescencia.
I'm delighted, and I hope we'll be able to do it again, and also that the solutions which were showcased here can maybe inspire real-life solutions in the future.
Es un honor que hayan contado con nosotros como aceleradora, con nuestro programa Startup Europe Accelerator, en el primer hackathon con el director general de innovación de la Comisión Europea para soluciones en el campo de cambio climático y reducción de emisiones.
I also congratulate Finova, which was part of the winning team, a team which worked on a really interesting solution to make construction at long last sustainable. Well done. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Juan Revuelta. I'm the CEO of the Europa Foundation for Innovation, FINNOVA, and we are one of the partners of the Circular Innovoster project. Today, we are here, and thank you very much for connecting us, for trying to promote sustainable and circular fashion and textile industries. This week is the European Union Week in about waste reduction. I'm Juan Manuel Revuelta, and I am in Gran Canaria, and we are hosted by Infecar, is the Ferial Institute of Canarias. And what we will try in the next around 2 hours is to have different visions about the challenge of the circular economy in textile and fashion, but also with the dimension of social innovation. And it's based in a project. The project is called CircoAx. You can look in the website, and it's a project that can inspire to us in how to do in other areas. It's a project that obtained more than 1 million euros of the DigiGrow to identify and to help around 30 different projects to receive 12,000 euros each, but also to mentor them and to inspire them in transforming in real EU funding projects. In our consortium, allow me to explain, the leader is the European Institute of Design, our foundation, FINNOVA, as a Belgian partner. Texfor is the Enterprise Association of Textile, National Spanish Association. They are based in Catalonia. The Circular Project, and Circular Hub, and Human Nation. And as we have to know that today is the Black Friday, this day that is an event that promoting consume. And did you know how many clothes, how many will be buy today, but will not be used one single time or just one time? Okay, for us, it's interesting to remind to you that is one of the biggest recycling problem of textile. About textile wastes, we are looking for, we have now in the evaluation of around 170 projects, but we are also looking for new ideas. Then don't hesitate to contact us. We think that textile also can be used in the building industry as a material for isolating noise, and also for the thermal purpose of the product. Today, we will have 4 panels. One institutional, where you will meet our projects with Mercedes Marin from the European Institute of Design, and other 3 interactive roundtables. Feel free to join us on the discussion and raise your questions through our Slido questions and answers code after each panel. We want you to participate. Some figures I wanted to share with you. Europe produces around 8 million tons of textile waste every year. Globally, in a world scale, we are talking of 92 million tons. To give you an idea, we generate by weight the equivalent of 250 Empire State Buildings. And we believe that from an ethical and environmental point of view, we have to take actions for diminishing this enormous quantity of waste, but also in promoting the recycling. Some other figures that my team has prepared because of this Christmas, this pre-Christmas day of Black Friday. We buy a lot, and only 40% of purchases are reimbursed. Okay, this is because we forget to look at the tag, price, conditions, and terms of consumers as consumers. In 2021, it's estimated that the benefit of Black Friday in Spain will be around 1,260 million euros, even if it has decreased because of COVID. And another quite important figure, 80%, up to 80% of our Black Friday purchases are simply thrown away after one or not used. Fortunately, more and more NGOs, associations, public institutions, experts, also startups and consumers are thinking about a change of the model, not based in consuming. As a foundation, what we try is to promote that innovation, also training, but also trying to help the access to EU funding. We have to remember that in the next in 4 days, will be the deadline of the program Life Circular Economy. And we are working in some interesting projects in circular economy where we combine and we reuse the waste from textile. And also we are working for the next call. And we hope to work with you because in the attendance list of entities, we have identified not only universities, but NGOs and companies. From Finova Foundation, I would like to highlight the figures about this economic recovery plan. The most important in the history of the humanity is 12 times more. That was the so-called Marshall's Plan after Second World War. That means in this period, 2021-2027, we will have a lot of funding available for recycling, for reindustrialization, but also for training or social innovation. Is the so-called part of that program is the so-called next generation. In Europe, 1.8 billion euros. And out of next generation, we have the program Life, 5,300 million euros, the program Interreg, but also the program Horizon Europe that promotes innovation in textile. And this is what we are doing from Brussels, that is our headquarters, but also from our offices in Canary Islands, Sevilla, Valencia, Alicante, Basque Country, Madrid, and also from our delegations in Latin America, Panama, and Santiago de Chile. We hope you enjoyed this event, learning from these wonderful experts invited today, and reflect on what you can contribute to this sustainability platform. And don't forget that today we try to promote a network platform. We have this database about that is through Next Textile Generation, an initiative of Fundación Finova, and the most important project is CircoAx. We have to dream in a next way of treating the textile and fashion. And let me start this institutional panel going to Paris and connecting with Mrs. Bettina Heller, Global Lead Expert in Textile of the United Nations Environmental Programme. She will walk us through some findings on key environmental and socioeconomic hotspots of the textile value chain and global recommendations to move towards more circularity and sustainability. Thank you, Mrs. Heller. The floor is yours. Bon après-midi, merci bien, y adelante.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with you today, and I think it's very timely, as you said, to hold this event on Black Friday to remind ourselves how important it is to go towards more sustainability and circularity in textiles and fashion. So I work for the United Nations Environment Programme, and I'm coordinating our work around the textile value chain here. So I will walk you a bit through research that we've done today, just to set a bit the scene, and hopefully it can help inform the discussions that you will have later on. So as UNEP, we take a value chain approach. What does that mean? Basically, it's an approach that helps us to make sure we take a holistic and systemic view of the challenges that we want to tackle. And we do not do that alone, but together with the other stakeholders along the value chain that are important. So the value chain approach has 3 steps. It starts by understanding the value chain and identifying key hotspots. So hotspots are basically those stages or impact areas that are the most important. So it helps us to prioritize our efforts because usually there is a lot that needs to be done and we cannot do everything. So by identifying the key hotspots, it helps us to see what are the most important areas that deserve our attention first. And the second step is then to look at what is already happening, to consolidate existing action, also coordinate that action, but from that also identify opportunities to act on these areas that are gaps where not enough is happening yet. And the third step is then to define a common agenda with all the value chain actors and prioritize action so that we all try to work together to tackle those key impacts that were identified. So what I'll speak about today is based on a report that we published last year. I'm also happy to post a link afterwards in the chat. This report is basically covering steps 1 and 2 of that value chain approach. So it's really a mapping of the value chain and identification of the hotspots, as well as looking at gaps and opportunities. This report we developed very much in stakeholder consultation mode. So we had a lot of experts and stakeholders across the value chain that were part of helping us to identify the findings and to also then provide the recommendations. Now, because I talk quite a lot of value chain, so maybe just to define what actually the value chain is. So you can see here on the lower side of the slide what the current more linear value chain looks like for textiles. So this basically includes all of the steps along the life cycle of a product. So that goes from fiber production through yarn, fabric, and textile production, but also includes the consumption and end of life stages. What's important is that we don't only look at these stages, but we also look at all the stakeholders and actors that either receive value from the system or are deprived of value. So that means also, for instance, people that live around factories where maybe the local waterways would be polluted. They are also part of the value chain, very much so, because they are really affected by it. But also the government policies, the business models, and consumption habits. All of this also is part of the value chain and the system. The other figure you can see here on slide is basically the aspiration. So the aspiration is to go towards a more circular system, which of course you are also discussing today, and your work is very much aiming to contribute to. So here you can see the ambition is not only to close the loop, But it is also about putting in place value retention processes that can make sure that the textiles are utilized more and that they are kept longer in the system. So in the end, it's also about, of course, reducing the size of the loop, though that varies per country because we have countries where there's overconsumption, but we also have regions or population groups where there's underconsumption, of course. The overarching principle to keep in mind when we speak about circularity is reduced by design. So looking very much from the upstream, from the product design on and the business model design, how we can change those to make sure that we have products that are more durable, that are produced more sustainably, and that can later on also be repaired or reused. An example that I always like to make is the example of chemicals of concern, which can cause a huge issue when it comes further down the life cycle. So for instance, when we talk about recycling or repurposing, but if we already phase out these chemicals of concern before even designing the materials, so at the design stage decide that they won't be used, this will solve a lot of the problems that would otherwise occur further down. Other value retention loops are at the point of the consumer to refuse and reduce. But also then we have circles that relate to repurposing of textiles and reusing and repairing, and of course then also finally recycling. Now, this is just a summary of the hotspots that we have identified in our research. So you can find more information in the report that I'll share the link of in the chat later. But it shows that we have different challenges that occur across the value chain. So it's really important to take a holistic view and also think about tackling all of them and not only focusing on one area. So here, for instance, we can see that at the fiber production stage, most of the impacts occur due to the fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides, but also land use when planting cotton. And also here we have a high water usage. On the other side, for synthetic fibers, because they're made of crude oil, there is a high fossil fuel use, which has a considerate climate impact. So this also shows that it's not necessary the solution to switch from one material to the other, but it's really more about how these are used and how long they are being kept also. Then in terms of climate, we also have a high impact at the wet processing phase because of coal-based energy that's usually used here, but also there's chemical and water pollution at this stage. And at the consumption stage, of course, we have the whole issue of not using our textiles, our clothes long enough. So there is an underutilization, but also the washing and drying behavior depends per country, but in those countries where it's common to have hot wash, that can also have a considerate climate impact. And we also have an emergent issue of microfibers there. And not to forget, at the end of life, even though the impact of the face itself isn't so high, we have a huge value loss just because the textiles are not used as long as they could be. Just to tell you a bit about what UNEP is working on next. So we are now working on the step 3 that you could see in the picture in the beginning. So basically developing a report that will outline a roadmap to transition towards more sustainability and circularity in the value chain. So this report will go very much into details of what each stakeholder can do. And we also are working on a sustainable fashion communication strategy. Now these, they follow also certain priorities that were already identified in consultation so far. So basically what we have identified and heard a lot from the stakeholders we've talked to is that we need 3 key actions or 3 key areas that deserve more attention. So the first one would be more support from government and policy making to set the level playing field and really put in place incentives and regulations that help also businesses to take more action in that space. The second one is collaboration and financing, so to really connect better the programs that are already out there, but also, and I think this is something that Finova, you're also doing very actively, to think about how SMEs can be assisted in accessing financing, because for them it's still quite difficult. And they are certainly a huge stakeholder that needs to be part of the transition. And the third area, and this is what the sustainable fashion communication strategy here speaks to, is changing consumer behavior. So not to forget that all these business models that we put into place and that are innovative and new, they also need to be embraced by the consumers. So not to forget that part. I also wanted to mention that we are running a project at the moment that hosts some of this global level work, but that also works with small and medium-sized companies in African countries, which is in Kenya, Tunisia, and South Africa. And here the focus is really on implementing more sustainable business models, and also help those companies to assess their product environmental footprints with the new methodology that is being developed by the European Commission. So I would also be happy to be in touch with any of you who are working in similar areas, and I'm sure there are also good synergies that we could find with the work that you're doing at the European level here. And with that, I'm going to finish. I'll just leave that on for 2 seconds so that you know we have a Textile newsletter that comes out every month. So anything relevant, please send it our way. We're happy to share that back with the group. And you can also sign up to that. I'll post the link in the chat. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Bettina. And now from Paris, we are going to connect with Mercedes Marín in Madrid, from el Instituto Europeo de Diseño. She's the leader, she represents the leader of our consortium of this CircoAx COSME project, funded from the DG Grow of the European Commission. And the floor is yours. Tienes la palabra, Mercedes. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. Thank you very much, Juan Manuel. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here to present you the European project called Circular InnoBooster, as Juan Manuel has said, on behalf of the consortium that is managing it. I'm going to share my screen with you.
Perfecto. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, I would like to show you very quickly some of the facts that inspired and led us to the creation of this project. As you can see here, some of the challenges, such as the model of the textile production and consumption, such as the high pollution, the fast consumption, the low textile recycling rates, or the social inequalities. And they saw in general terms that we cannot continue with this model, and therefore we need a change. And this is exactly what the Circular InnoBooster project aims to contribute to. The Circular InnoBooster project is a project of the COSME program for the European Union, which is the European program for the competitiveness of small and medium-sized enterprises. And it has a general objective, which is to use circularity in its broadest sense, balancing the environmental, social, and economical dimension to respond to these challenges we have just seen. And a specific objective, which is to contribute to the transformation of companies in the fashion and textile industry into a sustainable, circular, and regenerative one. And how are we doing this? Well, the Secret lies in an international consortium of entities specialized in these fields. The consortium that you can see at the bottom of the screen is led by the European Institute of Design, IED. And IED is a design school of Italian origin with a history of more than 50 years training in design, creativity, and innovation in Spain, Italy, and also in Brazil. Inside the IED, there is the Innovation Lab, which is the IED Spain headquarters laboratory of innovation, which basically applies the IED know-how to contribute to current global challenges through projects and methodologies in areas, strategic areas such as circular fashion, for instance. Textile, which is the largest confederation of the textile industry in Spain with strong cross-border relationships. Also with Finova Foundation from Brussels, directed by Juan Manuel, which has already spoken about it. Also with Circulab from France, which is a design agency operating in more than 23 countries that helps companies to implement circularity. Also with the Circular Project from Spain. It is a pioneering project in sustainable fashion that mainly advocates a fashion whose materials at the end of their life can be integrated back into nature. And last, with Human Nation from Spain, whose mission is to accelerate the transition to the new 4.0 economy. The project has an initial duration of 2 years, as you can see, a budget of more than 1 million euros, and it is 75% co-financed by the European Commission. In order to achieve these goals, we launched a circular and cooperative accelerator called CircoAx. CircoAx aims, firstly, to select 30 projects submitted via transnational partnerships consisting of one lead SME with one or a maximum of 4 partners, which can be any legal entity, from a different eligible country for the European Union and for the COSME program. The SMEs must belong to one of the 5 categories you see on the screen. And we launched a call from July to October to identify these 30 partnerships, and we have received approximately 100 candidate projects with very good ideas, and we are now in the process of selection, and we will announce the winners very soon. And then, as you can see, after the selection, CircoAx aims to provide those entities with an accelerator program of 8 months, started on March next year, and includes 3 types of support. It includes financial support up to 12,000 euros per project, technical support, which includes mentorship, workshops, training, access to ID digital design and prototypation laboratory, and much more, and network support, such as matchmaking events, webinars with designers and fashion brands, conference, among others. So, in the end, what really matters to us is that these 30 projects lead to the change we want to see in the model. And at the same time, we want to contribute to broader environmental, social, and economic challenges which are in line with some of the Sustainable Development Goals of the 2030 Agenda of the United Nations that you can see on the screen, such as responsible consumption and production, climate action, or partnership for the goals. And that is why our project and its accelerator has taken part of some relevant events, such as the Current European Waste Reduction Week, in the framework of which this webinar is held. Thank you very much. I hope all of us enjoy this webinar and learn a lot from all the great speakers and also moderators. And Juan Manuel, I hope I didn't spend too much more than the 5 minutes. Agreed?
But I have a question, Mercedes.
Yes, tell me.
When will be published who are the winners of these selections? When?
More or less around 15 December. I cannot give you a specific date, but very soon, mid-December.
Okay. And after we know who are the 30 projects approved, what will happen? Is the most important after. What will happen?
Then it will be necessary to prepare the grant agreement with all the projects selected, and then the program will start in March next year, and with a duration of 8 months.
It's an accelerator program that we will try to help these ideas to go into the real world, inspiring also in other areas. Why not in Africa, as we have seen this project with United Nations, or Latin America. Allow me to explain that we have been contacted from Argentina. They are quite interested in hosting and cooperating with the winners to promote that circular economy in textile and fashion in Argentina. Okay, and now we are going to the following to the next speaker. And thank you very much, Mercedes. And now we would like before to participate in a short poll. Scan this little QR code that appears in your screen and write down a word that comes to your mind with this event. One word. I hope not Black Friday, other word, but okay. What inspired to you this event, please? Okay. Very interesting. Thank you. And let's move on the next panel on road houses with Sami Kasmi, our partners from Human Nations. Sami, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Juan Manuel. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon in Europe, actually. And thank you so much for joining us today on this event. My name is Sami Kasmi from Human Nation, partner of Circular in a Booster project. Today, on our first panel, we will be discussing visible problems and root causes of fashion and textile industry. And here with us, speakers, we have Rafael Mas from Public Relationship Director of Humana, and Jordi Marlaska, Managing Director of Margasa Proyectos in Generia. Thank you so much for joining us today. As we know, the problems are vast in this industry, in our sector, and they are very diverse, from production to consumption, and they all affect the social and environmental aspects of the ecosystem. And of course, they affect the economy in a big way. The problems are mainly systematic, and they are all interrelated. And what we need to do, we need to tackle a lot of different factors in order to have a safe and sane ecosystem and create a better industry. This is for sure, we know that. At the moment, we are facing environmental issues, for example, the pollution, water pollution, air pollution from the industry, the consumption from the consumption side and the behavioral side. On a day like today, which is Black Friday, we know that we are facing a big challenge and a big problem here. Now my question to you, Jordi and Rafael, is maybe you can start, Rafael, if you don't mind. Please tell us, how does your organization see these problems, and in what way are you tackling them? Please, the floor is yours.
Okay, hello, good afternoon, and thank you very much for those who have been organizing this event. We are very happy to be here. About your question, I think that this is not a place to repeat that we have a great problem with the fashion industry. That is for sure something we know, and it's well known everywhere and worldwide. And the way we are tackling it is from the point of view of extending the life of the garments. We usually say that there is no garment more sustainable than the one already produced, and that is right, it's sure. And this is what we do. We collect clothes, we collect shoes, and also accessories, and also soft toys, for example. We prepare them for reuse, and then give a second life to most of them. more than 50% of what we collect is reused, 35 is recycled, is made by following downcycling processes, and only 10% is converted into energy or maybe sent to landfills. Then what we also do is that to sensitize citizenship to consume textile in different ways by providing affordable second-hand clothing. That means preventing waste, which is in the first step of the waste hierarchy, and also encouraging them to donate all unwanted textiles in the existing containers. So this is how we tackle this problem.
Thank you so much. And now over to you, Jordi, please. Jordi, can you hear us? Oh, thank you.
Here, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for inviting me to this event. I agree with all of you with the big concern we have, all of us, to in front of this big problem. And, you know, I see this from a more technical point of view, as we are manufacturers of the textile machinery that is supposed to recycle all this waste. And for sure, the problems are many, several different, but we have to focus as well in the recycling. It's of course the goal, but we have to see what we do with the recycled fiber, because it's a huge amount of tons, millions of tons of material that is going to be in the market, and nobody knows what to do with that. We can recycle part of it, not everything, because there are many materials that are very difficult to recycle by the time. Technically, we will find a way, but not yet. But the problem is that there is no market for this unless we redesign everything, especially we change the way we design the clothes to make them more, let's say, upcycle, recyclable. I mean, we can use the fiber to make clothes again, you know, because today, the main concern that I find when I talk to my customers everywhere, from USA, Europe, South America, they say, okay, we can recycle this, but this fiber, where is going to be placed? You know, there is no market for it. Okay, you can say, okay, we will find for the market, but we are talking that this problem is now, you know, and there is nobody thinking really how we are going to use 8,000 million tons of fiber that are going to be in the market again. You know, by the time it's a problem that nobody knows, everybody is thinking, and the main point is we have to find a political way to use this, to help to use this fiber instead of others. By the time the recycled fiber coming from the, you know, from post-consumer waste is becoming very expensive because the process is complicated. There is a lot of waste into the waste as well. We have to think what to do with that in the future. But the point is, if we don't support basically the market to use this fiber, it's going to be difficult to make that anybody wants to recycle it. Because at the end, we cannot put, you know, public companies making this losing money. You know, it has to be a business for the people doing that. And I tell you, I'm making these machines, and it's really complicated to convince people to invest in something that there is no market for. You know, so we have to see politically. Of course, we have to convince the designers to make more ecological clothes or recyclable clothes. But at the same time, we have to see how and where we are going to place this fiber, because it's a huge, huge, huge amount of fiber that you can imagine. All the cloth is converted in fibers here in Europe or wherever we find. We recollect all these clothes, but we don't produce this cloth. The cloth is produced in Asia, basically, South America, Africa. You know, we produce very, very small part of it. You know, so this fiber cannot go to Asia again, because it's to make clothes, because we are going to invest in transport, which is a lot of CO2 producing again, just to recycle, you know. So we're making something good here to making something bad at the end, you know, because we're polluting as well. So many transports going and by, you know. So the main concern that I have found everywhere is what to do with the recycled fiber from the post-consumer. This is the huge problem that nobody has an answer. Of course, there are many projects, and I have heard about many, but they are in very, very small quantities. So the project we need is something huge to change completely the production of, I don't know, construction of the buildings, the roads. We have to see where to put such big quantity of waste. You know, it's more than 10, it's between 10 and 15% of all the waste that we produce. I mean, that is going to the landfills today, you know. So it's, this is my main concern. I can explain you the processes technically how we do it, that because it's not the place, but really it's not easy. It takes a big installation, which is very costly. And by the time it's going to be very difficult that nobody invest in this if we don't find a solution for the market of these fibers. Okay. I have prepared something here just for you to see what I'm talking about, you know, but so we're making this kind of machines, you know, and this is recycling lines. As you can see, it's a very compact line. This is producing 20 tons per day of fiber from waste, but this is 20 tons. We are talking about 8 million tons. And this is one line that costs more or less 1 million euros. So you imagine the huge investment we are doing, you know. So we are making these lines from the 70s, 80s, 90s, every time making more production, more efficiently, with less power consumption. But at the end, it's a complicated point that we have to think about, you know. The installations for making the pre-consumer recycling are very simple compared with the post-consumer waste recycling, you know. This is basically because now we are talking about material with a lot of contaminations and materials that are not textiles that we have to remove from the clothes, you know. This is a standard line for recycling. Let's say pre-consumer waste, the typical that we are doing till now, because this is the standard for the textile industry, working for the last 50 years already. But the new lines, you see, this is for the post-consumer, where we have to eliminate all these plastics, leather strips, other things. It's much bigger. So it means that it's a huge installation to make a big production, but not that big comparing with the existing materials we have, you know. So basically, the main issues are, what is the price of this post-consumer waste? Has to have a very, very low cost. There is a market nearby. And why the users are going to use this recycled fiber, which is in quality lower than the normal recycled fiber, of course, the virgin fiber. So in numbers, if you see that it's the same that Juan was saying before, we have about 8,000 million tons just of waste that is not being recycled right now in Europe. And this is 91% of the total clothes that we are generating or using here, you know. So it's a big challenge, and it's something that we have to think a little bit more. Not only, and that is for sure, it's desirable to do that. For everybody agree with that, you know. The point is how to do it and where to place this fiber without contaminating more, you know.
Yes.
So basically, sorry, I'm just talking.
But it's very interesting. Your discussion is very interesting, and having you from the industry, that you have been facing a lot of challenges in order to recycle the textile, and still facing more challenges in order to sell in the market, because you are facing a competition basically with the manufacturing with the other textile manufacturers. So you see that the regulatory and governance, this could be a push. If there is some regulations taking place, then it could be a push towards
sure.
Textile, and is going to help this market, open up this market a little bit more. So at the end of the day, you, as you said, you are polluting a lot by recycling, but we have this issue of of waste. So you are trying to remove that. You are still polluting, but if this is not solved, this is going to add on to the problems of the ecosystem as well. So we need, if you are taking care of some problem, we need this to go through further and to be more successful. Yes. Yes. So the other question is, because we know that you are, and also Jimena, with the amazing work that you are doing, and also Rafael and Jimena are doing. You are mainly tackling the end cycle, the end of the pipe, basically, what we call it in the circular economy. What we also know is that we have fundamental and deeper cause problems in the industry. From those, for example, we know that we need to change fundamental things like behavior, so consumers are more conscious about what they buy and how much they buy, and more deeper causes of what made us to come here. So once we recognize them, we can go back to the loop and try to fix those points. So from that perspective, how do you think we can find solutions that they are tackling those deeper root causes? Whether it's behavioral, whether it's a design, or could maybe technology give us some solutions? Is it more like, do we need more like a system thinking to bring more system thinking into the industry? Jordi, please, if you can answer that. Thank you.
Well, I think you're right. It's a group of solutions. Of course, we have to change the mind of the people that they cannot just throw away their clothes after few uses. The point is to change the mind of the people takes time. It's of course we have to pressure to boost this change, but also I think we have to start with something more. Talking to the designers of the clothes, because today the clothes they are designing are very, very difficult to get a good fiber after that to make clothes again. If we need to make fabrics, we need to design the fabric to be recyclable, to make fiber, not to make many other things that will have a very low value. And at the end, we are losing this textile value change. We have to start with the designers, talk to the big producers so that they will, all the others will follow them, because at the end, the small copy the bigger. But at the end, this is the first thing, design something that can be recyclable. This is very important, not only to sell more, because the fashion is very nice, but to also to make something that in the label, they say this piece of cloth has been designed to be recyclable and become a new piece of cloth in the future. This is basic. Because now you cannot imagine how difficult it is to recycle things to make it clothes again. I think it's only maybe 5–10% of the clothes can be made clothes again. 5–10% is almost nothing, So the rest of the fibers, they are going to make very, very low products. This is almost nothing, costing, we're calling about fillings of mattresses, going to the insulations for the car industry, something that even the market is small. We cannot place all this fiber there, So basically, the eco-design, I think, is the most important thing to start now. Yes. The second one is to help the recyclers. If they have to do that, because now we are talking in the next 2 years, we have to do something. We have to implement now an eco tax that every piece of cloth, the consumer will pay few cents of euros or whatever dollars, and they will have to pay this to go to where? To two places, to the, let's say, research to find better ways to recycle or to use these fibers, but also to the recyclers, because the recyclers will lose money recycling this. So eco-tax and eco-design. I think these are the two legs of this small person that has to work now, So from there, of course, we have to change minds of the people, that they have to buy more ecological things, but the teenagers, they will still buy fashionable things, not only eco things. By the time we have to change their minds, but it will take time. But I will start with this eco-design and eco-tax. These are, for me, are the two things that we have to start very fast.
Perfect. So having the end product in mind while designing, this is very important, and how this is going to have more like a circular thinking and system thinking while designing. So designers and the eco-tax. Thank you so much, Jordi. Rafael, what do you think about this?
Okay, we agree on what Jordi is saying. Post-consumer waste issue for upcycling is not solved yet. So what we think is that let's follow to to continue and follow the waste hierarchy and enlarge the life of the clothes. Unfortunately, only 15% of the textile waste which is collected is reused locally, and the rest has to be sent to outside of the EU. So we know that the coming future there will appear technical solutions, as Jordi said, to get local and affordable recycled fibers, but it's a question of cost and money also. So we have to wait. And until now, we think that solving the deeper root causes is not a very easy task, but it must be faced from different ways. From our perspective, we have it very clear: less and better production, more second-hand consumption. And of course, effective extended producers' responsibility systems that will come in Europe very soon. We have one in France and in other countries that are coming very soon. And these systems will let the producers to organize and also pay the textile waste problem. Of course, the driven factor is to organize effective laws to produce clothing with other criteria, eco-design, for example, and for sure opening the scope to citizenship for a more conscious consumption. Just an example, 60% of the second-hand clothes purchased at Humana's second-hand shops replace the acquisition of newly produced items, which contributes to the prevention of CO2 emissions and also are on top of the waste hierarchy of waste prevention. This is just an example of how consuming in another way could solve not the problem, but the excessive buying of new clothes. In terms of separate collection of clothes, assuming that textile waste is an essential stream to be collected separately, 2025 for us is too far. We need to act massively now and install more and more containers to collect and manage increasing quantities of post-consumer clothes, shoes, and also accessories.
Yes, thank you so much, Rafael. Yes, this all needs to be taken into consideration, and hopefully with more events like this and more actions and projects like what we are doing in Circular Inno Booster, we try to emphasize and find those pinpoints and those acupuncture points in the industry and try to improve it and make a more circular and cleaner fashion industry. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rafael and Jordi, and I will pass it on to Juan Manuel for the next panel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Quite interesting. And we see how this action from Humana can inspire in other places to offer a second chance to the textile. Okay, thank you very much, Sami. And now we are going to analysis of context. The moderator will be Paloma Garcia, director of the Circular Project. And we will have in that panel Martin Boschen from Unique Textile Vice President, also Ana Rodes, Sustainable Manager of Recover, and also Raquel Raineri from Textile Engineering at North Carolina State University. The floor is yours, Paloma, as moderator. Y buenas tardes.
Thank you so much, Juan Manuel. Good afternoon and welcome everyone to this panel. I'm Paloma Garcia from the Circular Project, other the partners of the consortium Circular Inno Booster. And in this table, in this panel, we will address to the current context a state of the art or a state import towards a circular and decarbonized industry. For this panel, we have three excellent guests who will give us a broad vision for the subject based on their own professional experience. First of all, a quick introduction of each of you before entering our conversation. The first one, Martin Boschen, VP of Uric Textile and CEO of the site, expert and contributor in different Textile circular economy initiatives. Good afternoon, Martin, and thank you very much for joining us. Could you give us a brief introduction of your journey in the sector?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me here, Paloma, and good afternoon to everyone. Yeah, I'm Martin Buschen. I'm CEO of Textile and Vice President of Uric Textiles. I've been in the used textile industry for the last 20 years. We are, from the company side, collectors and sorters and recyclers of textiles, and Uric Textiles as an association has been formed 2 years ago, also to promote the reuse and recycling of post-consumer textiles within Europe.
Thank you, Martin. Welcome. The second one is Anna Rhodes, Sustainability Manager of Recover. Good afternoon, Anna. Nice to find you here. Same as Martin, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, nice to meet you all. Glad to see you, Paloma. Do you hear me well?
Yeah, very, very well.
Okay, well, my name is Anna Rhodes. I'm Sustainability Manager at Recover, and I have quite a technical background on textile engineering. And just to briefly introduce Recover, Recover is a mechanical cotton recycler. So we produce recycled cotton fiber and recycled cotton fiber blends with the mission of achieving circular fashion for all. So I can say that sustainability is at the DNA of the company. And as high value recyclers, well, Recover has a key role to play in the transition to a circular economy. So we are very happy to be here today.
Thank you, Anna. And the last but no less important, Rachel Rainieri, expert in textile engineering at North Carolina University. Welcome, Rachel. A pleasure to have you this afternoon. Could you make a brief introduction of your work?
Yes, hi, good morning, Paloma. Thank you so much. I did make some quick slides. Again, my name is Rachel Ranieri. I'm a student and a research assistant at the Wilson College of Textiles, and I'm calling in from North Carolina, United States. I'm also the conference secretariat for the Evolving Textiles Conference that we are planning for 2022. North Carolina State University houses Wilson College of Textiles, which has the vision of a compassionate world in which textiles enhance sustainability and quality of life. So we have undergraduate, master's, and doctoral programs. We also partner with agencies, companies, and nonprofits, and we have a lot of money invested in research and tech. We cover all different aspects of the value chain within textiles. We have fashion and textile design, textile engineering, textile and color chemistry, brand management, anything you can think of that has to do with textiles. We cover it, which makes for a really nice environment because we get to interact with all of the different players as we're being educated. And then I did want to share with you something exciting that we're planning as sustainability is growing a lot in our mission and our vision. We have a sustainability conference coming up in March of 2022 that we are planning that is surrounding circularity in textiles and alternative fibers with a big focus on hemp, as that has just become legalized recently for growth in the United States, and a lot of research is being done on industrial hemp. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Rachel. Well, at this table, they have proposed that we do an analysis of the current contents, and I would like to focus in the 3 pillars. First of all, the resources use, and I have 2 questions. How to approach the transition to extractive economy versus circular economy. What would be the smartest way to use the planet's resources without negative impact? Easy questions. So let's start. Martin, the floor is yours.
It's an easy, thank you, Paloma. It's an easy question, and it also has an easy answer. We just need to wear our garments longer or much longer. And that's actually the main aspect. I mean, if we remember the presentation Bettina had, I mean, we need to close the circle. We need to close first circle. We need to reuse or use our textiles longer, be ourselves, and then we need to pass them on for reuse. And then after that, and that's something which comes much later. We heard from Raphael about 50 to 60% of what they collect can be still used, but at one point they cannot be used anymore. And then we need to have recycling processes, and we also heard that in the panel before. We need to have two things. We need to have a design for recycling, and we also need to incorporate the recycled material in the new textile. So we need to have both parts. We need to have a push effect, which is technology driven by companies as Anna is doing, and we need to have a pull effect, which can be by regulation. For example, in the Netherlands, they will introduce mandatory recycled content in new garments. So we need also this pull effect that really we also use recycled content, and recycled content, we also need to make sure that we are not staying in a linear model. Right now, if we see recycled content, we see a lot of recycled content already in garments. This is still linear. That's normally PET or polyester, which comes from PET bottles. So we use a bottle to produce a pullover, but at the end, the pullover cannot be recycled currently. So we need to have this recycled content in a circular way.
Yes, Anna, your turn.
Yes, thank you. I completely agree with Martin, but for sure the garments that cannot be used, we have to be focused also in the end of life of those products that cannot be reused, because now, well, as they were saying at the last panel, a lot of garments are going directly to the landfills or are being incinerated. And well, I believe that the transition to circularity is not an easy one, and it requires a collective systemic approach. So in our case, from Recover, effective textile to textile recycling of post-consumer waste, as Jordi also and now Martin are talking about, plays an important role, but it comes with many challenges. So above all, my approach could be related to the lack of systems, the lack of the proper technology, and the lack of policies, as Martin. So, and regarding also the negative impact that you were talking about, Paloma, I really would like to highlight that everything has an impact, even though for sure you can try to compensate it or to minimize it. So from Recover, we are trying to reduce those negative impacts, trying to keep all the resources as much time in circulation as possible. So, we are trying to foster the post-industrial recycling as well as the post-consumer recycling. And about the impacts, the first step, I think that should be to foster the measurement or the understanding of the impacts, because I think that at that point, not all the companies are measuring the environmental impacts, and for sure they are not communicating it with transparency. So that would be my approach.
Yes, Rachel, how do you think is the better way to reduce destructive economy, to stop it, destructive economy? Is possible to do that? How do you think about that?
That's a big question. I have a lot of thoughts, so I'll try to keep it pithy. My first answer, I'm a big enthusiast for biomimicry, which is the idea of imitating nature. So we look at the Earth, it has 3.8 billion years of research and design in circular economy. And then we can consider the concept that I've learned about recently from the Canadian economist Kate Raworth of donut economics, where you can imagine a donut, and it's basically the proverbial resource donut. So we want to make sure everybody is accounted for, no one is underneath where they should be, and we're not overextending the resources we have, which currently we have people who don't have enough and we are way overextending. So the idea is to kind of keep it within that bar, and looking to nature, I think, is the best way to do that. Nature has a lot of incredible processes and systems and products that it does by using the resources available in really creative ways. I think it's a big challenge, especially because we already have a lot of systems in place. So I think transition is a really important word to consider here. As we try to move forward, I always say sustainability has so many layers. You know, you move in the direction of an alternative fiber, but then you realize that to produce that, you know, to create regenerated cellulose, for example, you may be using a lot of harsh chemicals. And so then you have to peel back that layer. How can we not use that chemical, or can we change the process? I think it's a transitional thing. It takes everybody taking part, which is a large aspect of biomimicry as well. We all need to be connected to function here. We need to talk to all the different stakeholders and people part of the system so that we can get that expertise, share that. Transparency is absolutely pivotal for that, as you said, and I do agree.
Yeah, well, all of you do you think that we are in the point of a start that change all that kind of things? I mean, do you think that we are applying the correct measures to make the correct transition to the circular economy? Because last 2 weeks we are in the COP26, and it was very disappointing, no? Because of the measure and the agreements are not really good for our sector, for the sustainability companies. What do you think about that? We are making the correct way? Martin.
It's a difficult question. The other one was easier. No, I think we need to see where we come from. And textiles was for a long time a little under the radar. So nobody really looked into textiles. Textiles is the last bigger waste stream which is now being looked at, especially in Europe, by the European Commission. And we are seeing the first steps. So we are seeing more interest. We are seeing technologies which have been developed over the last 2 or 3 years, which are now scaling up, which are getting more mature, not mature, but getting in a way that they can be maybe economically scaled up. And first plants are going to be built. So we are taking the first steps. So the answer to your question is yes and no, we are doing something. Is it enough? The question is, how much can you do at one step? But so we are on the road. We need to see now, and that's for Europe. And I'm not sure how it's in other parts of the world. I think we are a little leading here in Europe. And now we have to see how to speed up this process. And I think this is also developing. I mean, there are some initiatives in Europe on a European level where we are looking very much also from a commercial point of view into possibilities with all stakeholders or with many stakeholders involved along the value chain. So there is some development. So we could do more, but we are doing something.
And you? Thank you, Martin.
I completely agree with Martin. I think that the speed of transformation does not always match with the level of urgency of the current situation, because, well, for sure, the world is producing and consuming more textiles than even before, and the current low reuse and recycling rates mean that more textiles that are being thrown away than even before. So here is where the government and the measures of the COP26, as you say, Paloma, should come into play. And as Martin said, at least in Europe, there are measures running. There are different initiatives to address eco-design, greenwashing, and so, but nevertheless, additional efforts, at least from my point of view, are needed to create coherent policy frameworks within the textile value chains. For example, in our case, I think that there should be taxes on non-sustainable practices or virgin materials, as well as incentives. do you hear me? As well as incentives, for example, on or to decrease taxes on recycled materials also. So as Martin said, we are on the correct path, but maybe not at the speed we should.
Rachel, do you want to say something?
Yeah, well said, both of you. And yeah, I do agree. I think one issue with humanity is we are creatures of convenience. We love the path of least resistance, which often translates to what's easiest for us. And so I think I actually took a great course, Martin, from the Netherlands, from, correct me how to say this, Wageningen University.
I'm sorry, I don't speak Dutch, so I cannot.
Okay. Wait, Wageningen. I cannot say it.
I'm based in Switzerland, but no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I took a great course on circular fashion that they offered through the Netherlands, and they talked about this kind of change, this, changing from an old regime to a new regime, and how there's kind of this exponential change. We see this kind of crossover, but it does take time, for people to change their habits. But there need to be those from the new regime really stepping up, those pushing that circular economy, coming in and filling in those voids as we start to, recycle and upcycle more. We need to actually be designing circularity in, making those large changes, doing cradle to cradle thinking rather than cradle to grave. And I agree with you, Anna, as well, that we need more encouragement for that. If we are so linked to our own convenience, it's difficult to push people to change if they don't feel the weight of why they should. And another concept I think is really important is this idea of multiple value generation. We tie dollars to everything as value. And so we want to produce the cheapest t-shirt that we can, but that t-shirt, it has the worth of the resources that went into it and the human labor that went into it as well, but we only are tying that dollar amount, so kind of creating this shift in the perspective of people, I think will push that change forward. Anna?
No, I do agree, because sometimes we are thinking on making something more sustainable, or how you can call it, but to make it economical and to make it in a scale is also important for the industry, because sometimes we are focused on long-term goals and to make it like more sustainable and so, but we have to think that for the industry we need to make something in an economical and scale way. We have to think also in to take this approach also into account.
And Anna, are you speaking about the industry? I would like to know if the industry ready to decrease. Is the industry enough brave to change in the way that they have to do?
Well,
how do you think?
As I was saying, more than in long-term goals, I would think in short-term goals. And instead of decrease, for example, I would put the focus on moving from linear models to circular ones. And from our side, for example, I feel that we need more stakeholders on the textile sector for circularity, because we need to establish circular supply chains to collect, sort, repair, reuse, and recycle the discarded textiles. Because even though there are, Texet, Humana that were before, and so, a lot of collectors were very focused on reuse, and now that we are going to collect with the new regulation, and so that we are going to collect a lot of more textiles, we need to put the focus also there, because we do not have, for example, in our case, sorters prepare enough to sort for recycling, because we have different or specific requirements in terms of composition, color, and so. And as Rachel was saying too, we need to be able to recycle post-consumer waste, but in an economical or in a feasible way. Our mission is to achieve circular fashion for all, and to achieve it for all, it means that we need to do it in an economical way. So I will put the focus on creating new circular business models instead of decrease, at least now.
Yes, sure. Oh, okay. Well, today we are on Black Friday, as Juanma said, a difficult time to fight against consumerism with the aggressive marketing that premiums price over quality and responsible consumption. How to stop this? Because in order to implement the circular economy in the society, we have to make a very big way to form the people, form the consumers, how to help the consumer to have responsibility shopping habits, and how the consumers know our work in your companies. In your case, you are making a big effort to change the world, to change the industry, but the consumers don't know. Well, a lot of questions in a big one. Martin, how do you think about the Black Friday and how to change the way that the people perceive us?
I don't believe in short-term consumer behavioral change. I mean, if you look at our industry, you always had these issues with labor, not from the recycling side, but from the production side. You had always the social issues with labor. You have this Rana Plaza incident. You have other incidents. You also see that, and if you want to be an informed consumer, you see the polluted rivers in the producing countries. You see the working conditions there. And honestly, there is a very small percentage of consumers who care, but most don't. So I think it needs to come. I think it needs to come from regulation side. It needs to be, as Anna said, there need to be incentives and more true costing involved. So we need to have more true costing on not only textiles, but on goods we consume. And we also need to have incentives for reused, recycled products, so that we make them more attractive to the consumer. At the end, we need to, the way to change, and then that's what Rachel also said, the cost to change consumer behavior is in the wallet. Yeah. So things which have a high environmental cost need to be more expensive, and things which have a low environmental cost because they are second-hand or recycled, they need to be cheaper. And that's how we can change that. And that's also the only way I see.
Yeah. Anna?
I will only add training, but because I think that consumers are not, do not understand enough what is the negative impacts of the Black Friday, of the consumers. And for example, just a brief example, for example, in recycling, as Martin would also know, some types of prints are problematic for being recycled. And last Wednesday, I spoke with an important Spanish brand that told me that they will not stop producing garments with those prints until consumers don't stop buying them. So I think that there is an important lack of education for consumers, because they have an important role to play in those transitions. But for sure, it's an important work to do with the producers and brands, for sure, but we do not have to forget the consumers.
It becomes almost an accountability problem.
Sorry, Rachel. Have your companies specific campaigns of marketing in order to approach the consumer your work?
Are you talking? No.
What we are doing, we are also running second-hand stores, and online and offline. We do Green Friday campaigns, promoting the use of second-hand, but we are not a consumer brand at the end. I mean, we are a collector and sorter and recycler of textiles. We have a little more consumer, probably not impact, but contact than Recover has. When the consumer discards their textiles in the collection bin, but we are not a retail brand in that sense. So we are not doing much there. I mean, we do some education. We also produce some materials for schools in Switzerland and in Germany, which are used then if the teachers decide in education. But that's more general about consumption in general. And I think there is also not only textile specific, but there is of course some, as Anna said, or some education going on, which will, on a long term also, I'm not saying on the long term it will not have some behavioral shift, with the consumers, but short term, I think it's a very long process, and that's not only for textile.
Yes.
That's also for driving a car, for flying, for eating meat, for whatever things. I mean, and we are asking. I mean, not we as textile industry, but we in general asking a lot behavioral change from the consumer as it is right now, and this will even extend. I mean, if the European Union will be climate neutral by 2050, that's a target, and there will have to be a lot of change already. So in this, I don't think this change will be possible on a voluntary or purely educational basis. There also we need to have regulations in place enhancing that.
Rachel, how do you feel this subject in the university? How the people at the university feel the change, and how do you feel the habits of the consumers there?
Yeah, I think it's great that we're seeing a bit of a consumer shift. I was going to say in response to Anna, I think it's really interesting, that dynamic between consumer and brand, and it becomes almost an accountability issue, you know, where the brand says, well, we're just following our consumers, but consumers aren't really educated enough to support the brands they might want to, you know, so the brand can kind of wash their hands of it by saying, well, we're, you know, following market demand. So I do think there is a large shift in consumers' desires, but not to get too political, I think we've all seen this past year how misinformation is very easy to spread, especially in today's world of social media, which can be a really large bonus because you can get your message out, but any message can get out. So I think there's a really positive desire to change within the consumers, especially in coming generations, but there needs to be, I would say, more regulation in transparency and in information that is shared, so that people are making well-informed decisions.
Anna?
According to what Rachel said, I think that our petition could be for brands that are hearing us. Yeah. It's firstly to measure their impact. I don't mind with the life cycle assessment or other methodologies, but to measure it and to validate it, because there is a big problem of greenwashing here in the textile sector. And at least from Recover, well, as Martin, we are not an end brand. We do not have direct contact with the consumers. We are trying, but not yet. But we, for example, in our website, we are trying to translate our LCA to understandable concepts that can be understood by the users. For example, instead of speaking about liters, we are speaking about how many showers would you save with using Recover instead using a virgin cotton fiber, you know? So that kind of small changes just to try to train the consumers.
Yeah, really interesting. Well, a summary, Martin, can you give us some clues for the next panel? Because we are presented the analysis of the contest, and the next panel come with the solution. Can you make a summary? How is the contest, and how will be the solutions?
I'm not sure if I understood your question right, but so if you are saying analysis of the problem, I think we see that we have increasing volumes of textiles. We have still no solution for really circular recycling of those textiles. Most textiles, I mean, even if they are collected in Europe and are reused and maybe even reused, so we could have a circle, for example, we could collect some textile here in Germany or Switzerland. We could resell that as a second-hand textile in Germany again. We could collect it again. We could sell it in somewhere Eastern Europe, let's say in Bulgaria. Then there will be also a textile collection in Bulgaria. It could be even collected again and even classified as still reusable, going then somewhere to a developing country. And then it will be landfilled at the end of the day. So we don't have a solution for the really end circle. And that's what we need to develop. And I think we have lots of developments going on there with companies like Recover and others, where we can see a better use of the material value of the textile or of the garment at the end of its life. And that's something we need to go in further, and we need to, and in order to, I mean, this process has started, and in order to speed up this process, I think we need to see that we have regulatory incentives to reuse recycled material.
For sure. Anna, what is your start of R? The point of the R now, the point of the start of the R, sorry. What is your analysis?
Well, I think...
Paloma, last question, please. We are now out of time.
Yeah, we are making the summary.
Okay.
Now, from my point of view, I think we are on the good path. We are doing a lot of things, but we need more help from the government. We need more training for the consumers, and we need all the textile supply chain to be involved on this not so easy change towards towards circularity, I could say.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. And your analysis of contest?
Yes, I think we're moving in a great path. I think events like this, conferences, webinars, conversations, to start digging in together and understanding all of the different stakeholders along the value chain, and how we can work together to move forward is the way to go. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here and take part in one of these kind of conversations.
It's a pleasure for all of us to meet you, all of you. Thank you so much, because you are making a big effort, a big work in order to change the industry. Thank you so much, and keep in touch.
Thank you, Paloma.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Juan Manuel, your time.
Okay, thank you very much. We are sorry, but we are around 6 minutes late, and we are going to connect with Catalonia, with Mr. David Ayó. He's the Sustainable Director at Textile, and he will moderate this panel. And we have, and it's a quite interesting panel now. We will discuss about transformation of the emerging future. Of course, you will have after that 5 minutes, because it's quite interesting to talk about the transformations in this COVID time. That means we have to understand in not only in textile, in most of the sector, is the time of rethinking about the future. And we have representatives of the public sector, Mireia Canelles, bona tarda. We have also Rosario Evia, General Director of Ecocitex, Loreto Vinvignat from Fashion Sustainability Research and Innovation, Ricard Artigas, Managing Director at Textile Oleus, Omar Itani, General Manager at Fabric Aid. The floor is yours, David.
Well, thank you very much, Juanma, for the presentation. It is a pleasure to be here from the part of the Spanish textile manufacturers, as is our home, like is Textile. Just to introduce what we are doing, because maybe you have somebody who is listening us, maybe could get the chance to get in contact with us. From the Textile, which is an industrial textile association based on manufacturers, we are trying to find solutions, as this panel is. That's why I think you were getting us to get this panel. And we are doing like different things. First of all, representativity labors through Euratex from Consejo Intertextil Español, trying to face all the challenges that are facing the European Union related with decarbonization, circular economy, zero pollution regarding chemicals, and so on. Secondly, we are getting many or trying to get European programs to help our industrials, our manufacturers, that the most part of the manufacturers here in Spain, they are SMEs, so they need really help to catch tools to improve and to face all the challenges that we were speaking before. And later we are doing like helping them, like a help desk, in my case, helping them in sustainability issues related of many things like wastewater, chemicals, sustainable product development, and so on. One of the things that I wanted to say previous to start is like our manufacturers are world leaders in many things at European level. For example, our ones are the ones that are producing more recycled yarns in all Europe. Okay, the people that is not from Europe, in the Europe, the main part of the textile which is working like manufacturing and related with fashion is in the south of Europe, like Portugal, Spain, and Italy. And we are like the biggest producer of yarns with recycled composition. And later we are facing the decarbonization with a strong energy and power, because our industrials has like the most part of them are with solar panel installations. They are high efficiency in all the processes, because the energy here is really expensive, and they are developing new products with low carbon footprint. And they are using like the best available techniques in the market in the most part of the case. And now, just I was saying these hours related to our industrials, and I wanted to give like the floor to my panelists. They have the solutions in the hands. First of all, they will explain like in 3 minutes what they are doing and how they are helping to face all these circular economy challenges. Juanma was saying all the names of everybody, so now I will be giving the name of each one, and later we will discuss from some topics like a little bit of time, and I hope that some people will add something from a slide or two that today Finova were managing really well to have some kind of inputs to the panelists. So without any more to say, just give the floor to Mireia Canelles. They have here really a nice project to face the circular economy, and they are trying to be vanguard in Spain with this topic related with the taxes that somebody was speaking already. So Mireia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. May I share my screen? Are you able to see it?
Yes, Mireia, we are.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm coming from the government of Catalonia, and I will explain you a project which is called, it's an agreement on the textile, circular textile. And it consists on a voluntary agreement to foster circular economy integration into the stakeholders from all the links of the value chain. And as you can see below the slides, you can see that the scope of the agreement, it's pretty large, since it integrates things that goes from the eco-design, recyclability, durability, recycled fiber, clean and efficient production, selective recovery, reuse, recycling of pre and post consumption, knowledge and awareness. So we are right now preparing the basis of the agreement, since we are thinking on launching the agreement next year. And as I mentioned, we are working with a representative from all the links of the value chains, going from the production companies to the distribution and marketing companies, waste manager, governments, from regional and to local governments, academia, institution, third sector, and civil society. I go pretty fast. This projects come, it's pilot action from an Interreg project called CIRSE. And we are very glad because the Joint Secretariat for Integrate consider a high potential of replicability in other regions of Europe. And mainly we choose to implement this project because Catalonia has outstanding potential in Europe for the production of textiles. So we have a quite long tradition of industry that used to be a standard textile industry, and right now we have quite a lot of company using recycled textile as a previous, as I don't know, Marlaska mentioned before, the hour before. And just to finish, because I don't have much time, I want to say that we want to establish a really, let's say, an ambitious agreement, and that's why we have set three big goals that are quantified. And those three goals, in fact, are the most important challenge that we have regarding textile fibers. I will come back in a while when we will have the round of questions, because the three main challenges that we have is, the first one is we need to reduce the generation and the consumption of textile waste. The second big challenge is to increase the selective collection. And the third big challenge is to increase the percentage of material valorization, both through reuse and also to integrate recycling textile waste into new products. As you can see on the slide, we have quantified the three goals of the objective, and we are now developing how can we reach those three goals, setting different kind of goals for each of the links of the value chains. That it's how we are working right now. I don't want to go too much further because I think we only have 3 minutes each. If there is some more questions, I will come back to the agreement later. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mireia. I think that the project that you have in the hands is really brave because you are trying to be like the first actor to doing this kind of APR system here in Spain, and the challenge is really huge. And as you say, there are a huge potential close of you to try to find solutions. So again, thank you very much, Mireia, and we are going to give the floor to. We are going to fly to Chile now already with Rosario Evia. They have some scalability solutions, some scale solutions from their startup. So Evia, now the floor is yours, and you can start with the solutions from Ecotex. Thank you very much.
First of all, I want to say thank you for inviting me to this panel. It's really hard to speak after all of you. You have like such amazing projects and in such a larger scale than what we have here. So I'm the founder and CEO of Ecositex. What I can bring to the table is showing you what's the reality on the other side of the world. So basically Chile has become a dumpster to all the secondhand clothing that is not reused in Europe and America. So we are able, not we, like I don't do it, but we can purchase it at really low prices, and we sell, I don't know, 10, 15% of what we import, and all the things that we're not selling, we're dumping in the desert. So this is a huge textile crisis. And because we have not like put the proper laws in and traceability to the people that are importing secondhand clothing. So lots of it's actually estimated at 39,000 tons of textile waste, basically secondhand clothes. It's ending up in landfills in the north of Chile. So what do? We wanted to make a huge solution. So this is, I put this photo to show how little our project is. So we started last year. So we bought we purchased a traditional wool factory, and we refurnished some of the machines that they have here to be able to make our process. So this is it. We ask people that they can bring whatever clothing they're not using. We have the clothing in good condition. So basically we collect, we classify, reuse what we can reuse, convert into other products, the things that the textile can be converted, and only clothing that are in ill shape we recycle to elaborate different products. We're really small compared to all of you. So basically our recycle yarn house, how we recycle. So it's basically a mechanical product process. We classify, sort by fabric. We recycle different type of fabrics. We classify them by color. We cut, shred, card, spin to create an 100% recycled yarn made basically from post-consumer clothing. And the good thing about our production is it's a water and dye-free production. And we basically are focusing in people that they buy our recycle yarns to them for them to elaborate different products. So we have different sort of shapes and colors, and it's every color is made from its selection. And but we're so little compared to all of you. We're recycling and reusing 10 tons of textile waste per month. So it's really small. We've been doing this only for a year and a half. So more than thank to everybody for inviting me to such an amazing panel.
Oh, Rosario, don't feel that you are small, because you are not, because you have a great idea between the hands and a great company to scale solutions. So the pleasure is us, and you are a really great example of an entrepreneur who is trying to do upcycling with something that is like nowadays is a waste. So really impressive, and congratulations, because the effort of be alone and go through this kind of projects has really, you should almost too crazy many times. I think so, because it is not easy to develop these kind of things alone. So congratulations, and thank you very much from here to you. And now we are going to another project that the main head is another girl. It is amazing, and it is really grateful to see how the girls are really getting empowered and with great ideas and doing this kind of projects. And Loreto has really between her hands, a great idea too, with really sensitive things and trying to give a little bit of art to the things that is doing through the upcycling. The name of the company is, I hope to say well, Loreto, is like Resti Art, or not?
No, that's what I was mentioning to you, that
sorry.
So
I failed.
No, it's okay. So I mean, I'm working with waste, but reducing the textile dye waste. So I'm not necessarily working with the recycling, but I am working with reducing waste. But I'm more centered towards sustainable and innovative dyes. Perfect. So I think, am I sharing my screen right?
Yes. And the floor is yours. Thank you very much, Loreto. I'm sorry for the confusion.
No worries. I'll give you a quick introduction about my work and what I've been doing the last couple of years. And then I'll show you a small video of my latest work. Okay, so I have my own sustainable fashion brand called Anima by Loreto. And I've been working with natural dyes now for about 5 years. I was living and working in Vietnam with a friend of mine from the Hmong ethnic community, and we were dyeing with indigo with her. I've also been traveling around the world, learning how indigenous communities use traditional dyes to reduce also, I don't know, to see how I could use these dyes for my collections to reduce the water pollution that the petrochemical dyes create, right? We're aware that almost 20% of the water waste is created by the fashion industry, right? So for me, I love color and I love design. I'm a designer, I'm a fashion designer. But for me, it's like, okay, how can I create in the most sustainable way possible, right? So when I was living in Vietnam and in general, I'm always very aware of who's making my clothes, where my textiles are coming from. I went to factories, right? So for me, the sourcing and the ethics behind my work is super, super important. So I'm only working with natural, organic, biodegradable fibers. For me, that's where my circularity comes in. And I always thought, okay, everybody thinks of sustainability within designers, right? And when you go and buy something in terms of materials in general, people don't think of the dyes, and dyes are incredibly polluting, right? So for me, it was like, I want to try and go all around in terms of design, right? So about 2 years ago, I started working with bacteria dyes. I won 2 European fundings. So I won the Worth project and now Reframe, the latest grant. And I was working with biotechnology labs, fermenting and producing bacteria to be able to dye garments and textiles. First with the Vienna Textile Lab, these are the garments that we were able to create. This is all silk and organic cotton garments. And the thing about microorganic dyes, bacteria dyes in this case specifically, is that they can use up to 500 times less water. They don't need toxic chemicals, and it's natural, right? So the waste is much easier to be able to deal with, right? So here we are. Also, this is the second grant that I won just now. We just finished it. It's Reframe, and I was working in with ITEX, Research Technology Institute in Alcoy, and we were not only fermenting bacteria, but we were also using their technologies to apply eco-finishings to my garments, right? So for dyeing, what we used is we use bacteria dyes and plant dyes, and we use the nebulization technology by Care Applications, which uses 85% less energy, 60% less water, and it has a 90% dye optimization. So that means that you need much less dye to dye the fabrics, right? And then we were also using the laser cutting to add eco-finishings to my garments. And here are some of the garments, the finished garments. So the image on the left is the bacteria dyed jacket. That was an incredible miracle that it happened. It's very tricky at the moment to source, to extract the dye from the bacteria. It's still a very new technology. So the companies that are working on it are still in research and development. To the left, you can see there's another bacteria dyed garments, but these are dyed directly. They're not dyed using the nebulization technology. It's a different way of dyeing. And then in the second, the rest of the garments, well, they're all dyed with natural dyes and cut with the laser technology. So yes, I mean, I have a little video, but I feel like maybe we don't have.
Yes, we are almost out of time, but Loreto, incredible. You are saving a lot of different things, because one is the hazardous chemicals, but associated of that, there are like the recipes that is like hazardous waste, and in the end, the things that you are doing are really important, and I am really impressed with your project too. And if you feel that we can connect you with industrials to try to scale, just send to me an mail, and we try to help somehow.
Thank you.
Thanks to you. And now we are going to Lebanese. I think that Omar is over here. Omar Itani, yes. The floor is yours, Omar. Thank you very much for being here. We should be a little bit fast, okay? And sorry so much, but it's like we don't have too many time. But the floor is yours, and thank you very much for being here.
First, thank you for having me. I'm going to share my screen. I hope it works. Did it work? Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So Fabricate is a Lebanese social enterprise. We started in Lebanon, and now we are all through the region. What we do is fairly simple. We collect secondhand clothes through schools, universities, businesses, international fast fashion brands. We have hundreds of clothing collection bins between Lebanon and Jordan. And we have collection hubs in UAE, in the Gulf. Basically, in the Middle East, we are the biggest collector of secondhand clothing. The clothes that we collect, after it's sorted, cleaned, mended, categorized, it goes to one of 4 brands we have at Fabricate. The first and the most important brand, and the reason behind our creation, is a brand called Souk L'Khlanj. It's basically shops that are located in extremely marginalized areas. Through those shops, we maintain a dignified shopping experience for people. People have the chance to choose items for prices ranging between 0.3 and maximum $2 per item. So it's really micro prices, and everything is hanged, neatly displayed. There's price tags, fitting rooms, personalized advice. People have the chance to choose whatever they want at prices that they can actually afford without feeling that somebody is doing charity for them. And that's how we distribute basically 75% to 80% of the clothes we collect. A small percentage of what we collect goes to second base. It's basically stuff that is a bit vintagey, a bit out there, a bit hipster, boho designs, African print, stuff that marginalized communities don't tend to consume because they tend to be a bit more conservative. Such items are sold at a higher price margin, either through our e-commerce platform in the Gulf region or through our stores in Jordan and Lebanon. Last but not least, through our retail brands, this one is the most important and how we generate 70% of our revenues. It's basically shops where people can sell and buy their own secondhand clothing. There's no donations involved. It's very similar to the Buffalo Exchange concept. It's the Buffalo Exchange of the region. We have shops all over Lebanon and Jordan, and those shops are basically the biggest retailers when it comes to secondhand clothing. We don't use any wholesale. It's from people to people, no middleman. We are the middleman. And the 4th brand is Replayed. The items that we receive that cannot be reused through donations are basically upcycled into pillows, designer clothing, furniture. Our biggest focus is on suits. We receive a lot of suits because we deal with privileged communities who usually consume a lot of this type of clothing. And we upcycle the suits into sweater, t-shirts, and a lot of other fashion products that we sell usually in European markets through consignment shops. That's all. We started back in 2017, a company of 2 people. Today we are around 100 people, 100 individuals.
Omar, that's it.
That's it.
Amazing. You were really fast, and you are doing something that is really difficult and really good. That you are doing something that the second hand that always was not cool. You are putting really cool. You didn't show any photo of the shops that you have, but it is, or I think that you didn't show that, but I was looking some of that, and it is amazing how the shops are. So you are doing that the second hand becomes cool. So this is really, really amazing. So congratulations, Omar. And if you don't mind, we are going to give the floor to Ricard, and later we will see if we have a little bit of time to discuss something. Ricard comes from some textile manufacturers here in Spain. They are doing dyeing and finishing. And Ricard, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, David. I'll try to be quick as well.
Thank you.
So we are Textile Luz is a textile company, but it is not devoted to traditional textiles, but rather to non-woven textiles.
Ricard, could you do bigger the slide, because we cannot see almost anything?
Can you see it now?
Yes, but maybe you could put full presentation or not.
Yes. Hold on a second.
Because I think that...
Is it working now?
Yes, maybe now it's a little bit better, but...
Well,
don't worry. Now it's better, Ricard, perfect. Thank you, sorry.
Don't worry, I'll just try to explain in words if the slides are not illustrative enough. Yes, I was saying we are a manufacturer of wool felts. Essentially, we combine the natural properties of wool and the functionality of non-wovens, and we manufacture products for a very wide range of applications, from industrial applications to interior design to fashion. So it's a very wide range of products that we manufacture. And for us, being a textile industry, circularity is material and makes a difference in 4 areas, which essentially are production waste, raw materials, energy, and water. And the latest 2 are fairly intertwined in in the way we see it. So starting from production waste, I think we have been using for a very, very, very long time our own waste. So be it the fibers that fall in the carding process, but also the trims and edges of finished and semi-finished goods that we open up and turn to fiber again. Then at a later stage, we start using recycled raw materials from other businesses, be it pre-consumer or post-consumer. Typically, we prefer pre-consumer because these are much easier to characterize and make sure that no dangerous chemicals are contained. And in this regard, I think that the raising awareness of circularity has helped us very much, because now we are starting to develop some projects in partnership with customers. So we take their waste and then use it to manufacture new products. I think this really hasn't been or couldn't have been possible a few years ago. But now, since everyone is much more aware of this, it's becoming easier. And just to finish, the last 2, energy and water, these are essential for industrial businesses. It's not, circularity is not only a matter of sustainability now, it's also very much an economic imperative with the current prices of energy. And this is something that we have been working on quite a lot, and in which we believe there will be a lot of technological progress going forward as well. So yeah, just try to go very, very fast.
Well, Ricard, thank you very much. I'm sorry because I didn't give to you too many time, as well as Omar. Well, it is impressive too to see how from the manufacturer's part you are facing to all the circular economy challenges, and that it is possible to feel from your presentation that you have a high environmental performance and for sure the social too. So it is like perfect. Well, now I would like to open the discussion. Juanma, it is possible or not? Just one question to each one.
Of course,
yes.
David.
Oh, thank you very much, Juanma. I was really afraid because you are the guy from the time, and that maybe you said to me, "Is the time?" So it's perfect that you give to me at least one question, okay, to each one.
Go ahead.
Perfect. Well, we have like two questions, but I will try to do the 2 questions in one, like a trick, and for me it's like the main important thing. Is the market. You know, the market. We are talking about sustainability, like in inspirational way always. Sometimes not objective, like in inspirational way. The market is over there, and I think that the most important key will be like the market really believe truly in the sustainability. So the question is, how do you think that the market should recognize the sustainability? I hope that all of you will understand that, and we will have like 1 minute or 1 minute by each person to answer the question. We will do like the same order, if you don't mind. Mireia.
Okay, thank you. I will try. I think there are different kind of strategy to support sustainable products and solutions. And from the point of view of a government, I would say, for example, the laws, European, national, regional laws, I think it could be important drivers also for the market. Also, I think we should visualize best practices. Those those labels like you, the ones you presented today, I think should be visualized, because successful strategy are on the table already. So really, those that are making efforts and are front runners should be visualized. Also, research and innovation projects, it's also very important. Eco labels, I think all the helps a lot. Also, again, those sustainable products. Green public procurement is a very powerful policy for governments, and also to integrate eco-modulation into EPR, I think also can be a very important driver. For the moment, I think I will stop here. Thank you.
Perfect, Mireia. Well, your words were really sweet and really perfect ones. I will not say any better. So thank you very much. Secondly, go to Chile, Rosario. How the market should recognize the sustainability. You are muted. Sorry.
There. So in terms of sustainability, what I think like consumers should start opting for more sustainable products. So we're saying like if you're going to knit, if you're going to weave, if you want to do anything, like buy this. This is the only yarn in Chile and in the world, not in the world, but in Chile at least, that is trying to do something good for the like planet. So we're reducing textile waste. So buy this. But in the other hand, like people and businesses that are producing textile waste should rethink their models. It's like whatever we do with the textile waste, it's not enough as long as we keep producing that amount of textile waste. So what we're doing here that is really, I haven't seen anybody else said this, we're charging to recycle. We're not accepting donation because we're trying to educate the people that you have to be responsible for over consuming. So if you're generating waste, then you need to pay me if you want me to take care of it. So because what we're trying to educate is that if you don't want to pay for it, then generate less waste. So that's our strategy to try to solve the long-term problem.
Perfect, Rosario. Thank you very much. Loreto.
Hi. So for me, I think I have the designer kind of perspective. And I think that within the fashion industry and within all industries, there is this very high level of everything needs to be super perfect color. I'm coming from color, right? And there's always this question of, oh, is it going to be perfect and perfect? And I really think that if we want to look forward, we need to think that recycled materials, natural materials, they might not be completely perfect, but they're going to let us live. They're going to let us survive, right? So we need to let go of this idea of super perfection. It's like when I go to the eco shop, right? If I buy a carrot that's not perfect, I don't care because I know it doesn't have the pesticides, right? So maybe if I wear clothes that are not perfectly dyed or perfectly polished, I know that it's better for the environment, and probably in terms of dyes, it's better for my skin, it's better for the water, you know? So I think that we really need to create a new perspective of what design and what products are, you know? We need to let go of this super perfection because we're not there yet with the technologies that we have for literally saving the planet at the moment, right? So for me, I think it's a very important thing that companies need to do to the consumer, right? We need to sell this. The consumer will buy it. If everyone's saying it's cool, it's going to be cool. We know that it works like this. That's what I think.
Thank you very much, Loreto. And it is, well, I am completely agree with you. And it is like do the same. The market should do the same, like the nature. You know, in the nature, everything is perfect. Even everything is different. So exactly. it is perfect. Your thought. Well, next one, Omar.
So I would have said the ideas of Loreto and everybody else on the panel before saying this idea, but I just don't want to re-emphasize what they said. But I think a very important strategy to push sustainable products is through social media networks. Loreto was talking about shifting a paradigm and promoting new concepts for people and sustainable concepts. And one way to do that, and we cannot deny, that social media has a huge, massive influence on what we buy and what we consume. And right now, a sustainable company like ours need to compete with international fast fashion companies who have insane marketing budgets. The algorithm works really well for them and really against us. So we cannot compete with their budgets. We cannot shift the paradigm of people given the budgets we have. We expect from such social media companies, giants, doing billions of dollars per week, to be pushing more sustainable companies and sustainable products, shifting their algorithms and their promotional budgets in a way where it's more fair for the consumer, to see all the different, I'm not saying to promote us more than anybody else, but to see all the options in the market and not the ones handled and managed and pushed by the international corporations.
Agree to Omar, really important, the culture and the education related with sustainability, fixed with the fashion, that is the thing that you were talking about, so perfect too. Thank you very much. And the last one, Ricard.
Yeah, so I think the market obviously likes sustainability as a concept, but then from there, I think it becomes more tricky. And to me, there are a couple of issues that affect both consumers and manufacturers as like ourselves. The first one is when it comes to certifications and indexes, and I think it becomes very confusing for consumers and also for us, because so which certification should we prioritize and should we go for? So that's quite difficult. And another one is, and this has been mentioned before in the previous panel, is that the cost of not being sustainable is typically not included in the price that consumers pay. And I think if the true cost of unsustainability was accounted for, then all of us who try to commercialize products that are sustainable would be on an equal foot. So these are the main two barriers that I see to becoming more mainstream, actually.
Totally agree. The importance of the harmonization and the importance of to have really truly information and to get this sustainability differentiation if you are doing really good, and sometimes it is not easy to do, and it is worse with the manufacturer part, because in the end you are working really good and maybe other one it is not working so good, but if the price is less, the people is going, the brands are going to get like the best price and not the best environmental or social performance. So there we have really a huge problem too. Well, it was I don't know if there is some question that somebody was doing from Slido. Juanma, if we can answer, you are the boss, let me know.
Anyone can participate through Lido. I don't see here in the FAQ. Yes, we have from Marta Ramon a question for you, David. What's greatest potential of the Spanish textile industrial sector to perform a leading role in circularity within the European context? Well,
this question, it is really nice to answer from my position, because it means why I am here in the position of being close to the manufacturers. And I think that we have here in Spain, we have everything, I think that in other countries too, but here we have, like, from the raw materials, we have the cotton harvesting in Andalusia, the wool too, like from different parts. We have like the manufacturers, we have brands, we have technological centers, we have universities, we have really a social and environmental nice legislation through European Union. So in the end, I think that already we are the leaders, but I cannot say like in public to everybody, but I think that we are doing the things really, really good. Just only the things that we are waiting is like the market recognize all this position. But in any case, there are too many dichotomies. All the countries through go look forward, and each country is a world, and even everybody don't have like high developing standard than here. The people is all of the countries are working hard, and I think that these kind of things will have scalability in every country, and the legislation will be really cool in every country, and in the end, the markets, for me, in my point of view, will be or seems that are going to be like more closer, and we will see what is happening. But in any case, the thing that I would like to say from all the panel, that is what was really incredible, that from the question that we were opening, all of them were asking all the big challenges that the textile sector have. And it was really cool, like all the legislation topics, the visibility of the best practices, eco-label, green public procurement, the textile waste, and changing the recycling, the nature point of view, the nature behavior going through the industry, the importance of the culture and education, and the importance of get harmonized methods and metrics, like objective metrics that was saying Ricard, regarding to see who is getting like better environmental social performance and to the market to try to recognize that. It was amazing to listen that from all the panelists, because are the big challenges that everybody is looking forward, like in European Union level. These are, especially all the things that you were saying, are the topics that are already in front of the European Commission trying to do legislation, and in front of the big brands, and in front of the best manufacturers. So it was incredible to listen all of you. Juan, I don't know if there is some question more, or if somebody wanted to say something else.
Even for the other panelists, if you want to participate or to do questions, feel free. Okay, last minute opportunity in this, and thank you very much for staying with us. And
Juan, today you are not being strong with the timetable. I am really happy about that.
We are, look, time you stay connected, you are not going in this consumist day to go as crazy people for this not European tradition that is the Black Friday, that is stupid in my personal opinion. But anyway, it's consumers' time. But then I don't have any problem. I have learned a lot from all of you. It's quite inspiring, because with real projects, with real ideas, you can inspire us in how afford the challenge in a different way. And I'm really very inspired. I think we if I may, I would like to highlight the importance of keeping connected. In some weeks, we will know who will be that 30 winners of the CircoAx project. But if you didn't apply on time, don't worry. We will be stay working, and with this wonderful consortium, Textile, the Enterprise Association, but we have also these the other partners, the Institute of Design, and another interesting key actors as Humana, as all the different partners, and all of you. And what I would like to highlight is that there will be new opportunities, new EU funding opportunities, like again live. Of course, we have not time in 3 days in submitting a new live proposal, but we are working and helping some nice projects in waste from textile for the building sector, like isolating material. We are going to submit next Monday. But look, around April, May, there will be a new call in life, sub-program circular economy, why not? And we would like to work with you. And also for the colleagues that are from Chile, or we are working with some Argentinian also partners, quite interested, because it's a global problem. Also in Africa, in other third countries. Let's start working, because from January, we will have a new call that is what is the triangle cooperation, and is actions to work together, perhaps with that legislation from Europe that can be implemented in third countries. And in that, I think Europe has a lot to offer to the world. In Chile, you know better than me that some of the legislation of the six is the integral system of waste management in the field of electric and electronics and others comes from Europe and comes from Spain. Okay, let's work together thanks these new technologies, and that's it. That's the clear message. We have, as you know, we are in the middle, or we are in the starting point of next generation, the biggest economic recovery plan, and a part of that should go to circular economy in textile, creating new jobs, and we will have soon very good results about these initiatives of social innovation that can create new jobs, because we are in the middle of a pandemic, not only a healthy pandemic, but is also an economic pandemic. Thank you very much, all the speakers, all the people that has been connected Black Friday. Still, we have 44 people connected in a Black Friday. Some of my colleagues asked me, are you sure in a Black Friday people is going to go crazy? Okay, you are connected. Thank you very much. And I want to thank all the people behind in the organization, all the partners of CircoAx and also all the people from the team that has been working hard in coordinating this. I have to mention Natalia Cediel, even she's a little bit, she's a little bit cold, and thank you very much for your effort. Julia, Eduardo Mercado from the technological area, our colleagues from that has been doing the live tweeting that allows to you to have the LinkedIn of all the panelists. Please keep in contact and work together. You have to work together. I'm talking of Mr. Zabalza. I'm talking of also of the people like Maria Jose from the communication area, or Patricia, and all of them. Thank you very much. I wish you a good weekend, and also please try to be safe with this new wave of the COVID-19. It's a serious thing, and please, if you are not vaccinated yet, do that. I think it's the only way of going out of this crazy madness. Thank you very much, and let's keep in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
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 Ideas. There are ideas that change the way we work.
In other centuries, they would have called it magic.
Ideas that got us connected.
Hold the line a minute.
That made us communicate better with each other.
Hello?
Ideas that got smarter and smarter and smarter. There are the ones that caused revolutions.
Goodbye, David.
And others that seem like a thing of the past now. There are the ones that are obsolete and ideas that promised us freedom, but in the end delivered us nothing but stress, that we tried to compensate with funny ideas. We thought of something different. A simple idea that turns idle workspace into places where you connect with companies, where you share knowledge with other creative minds or digital nomads. Where you are is where you work. You spend fewer hours on the road and you gain precious time for a better work-life balance. It's called Work Hero. Is it a game changer?
I beg your pardon?
We like to think so, but we'll let you be the judge of that. Check out Work Hero on workhero.com. Work Hero, connecting space and knowledge.
Getting home? Wait, is this a walk of shame?
I mean, is it a walk of shame if I stayed up all night in the library hooking up with my textbooks? Like,
Wow, we are so different.
So excited that classes are finally starting. What classes are you taking?
I literally don't even know. I just signed up for anything that started with intro. Young Stalin could get it. Right? Dude could have been on Riverdale. Oh, I love college.
Hey, is this Leighton Murray's room?
Damn, she's a lucky lady.
She's my sister, actually.
Yikes. Do not have sex with any of my roommates.
She's not used to guys like you. You should have seen the boy who came to visit her. He looked like a ghost.
I did forget my toothbrush.
Put a shirt on.
All right, this is yours, Whitney. This is yours.
Are you an ambitious business owner? COSME can help you move forward in a supportive business environment. COSME is the EU program for the competitiveness of small and medium-sized enterprises. It helps you access finance, reach new markets, and find the right business partners. COSME gives financial support, such as loans and venture capital. Find out more on the Access to Finance portal. Funding is also available through calls for proposals, also known as grants and calls for tenders. For grants, the European Commission selects projects contributing to EU policy aims, like sustainable tourism. In calls for tenders, it hires business services to support its activities. If you are interested in applying, choose the funding that is most suitable for you. Check the eligibility criteria and start working on your proposal. Make sure it is consistent, realistic, and clearly defined. Find calls for proposals and tenders on the Funding and Tenders portal. Search for financial opportunities in your country on the Access to Finance portal.
La Fundación Finnova, con el proyecto Circoax, busca empresas y autónomos innovadores para promover la economía circular en el mundo textil y de la moda.
Pues yo sufría. I'm delighted, and I hope we'll be able to do it again, and also that the solutions which were showcased here can maybe inspire real-life solutions in the future.
Es un honor que hayan contado con nosotros como aceleradora, con nuestro programa Startup Europe Accelerator, en el primer hackathon con el director general de innovación de la Comisión Europea para soluciones en el campo de cambio climático y reducción de emisiones.
I also congratulate Finova, which was part of the winning team, a team which worked on a really interesting solution to make construction at long last sustainable. Well done. Thank you very much.